Welcome to Trauma Healing from the Bible. My name is Joanna Daniel. Today I'm talking about a negative thought pattern that can hold you captive for years. It will steal your joy and it will take so much from you. And I believe that it's time for freedom. It's time for breakthrough. And so if you stay with me, we're going to talk about that one. And this negative thought pattern is mental filter. Do you know what a filter is? A filter is a device that we use to take out impurities out of something, right? You may use a filter in the kitchen when you're baking, or in the kitchen when you're doing certain things. You may use a filter. So if you're thinking of a filters as something like that, when we're thinking of mental filter, then what mental filter works in the opposite way. It doesn't take out impurities. What it tends to do is take out the things that are positive and leave the impurities when we're filtering our thoughts. When we're filtering our thoughts, we're focusing on one aspect of the situation. And we tend to, as humans, focus on the negative aspect of the situation. We never see anything that is positive or good about the situation. We focus on only what's bad when we have a mental filter. And you may make mistakes, for example, and the mental filter says that you're a person that always makes mistakes, aren't you? And so you'll ruminate on those thoughts, and you'll dwell on them, and you'll start to believe them. That's the danger of this negative thought pattern, the filtering. So when we want to try and change that, of course, we have to notice in our lives, where is it that I'm applying mental filter? When you apply for the job, do you apply mental filter and tell yourself that you're sifting out and taking out all the positives about yourself? You're taking out all the times that you have worked in organizations like that and how well you have done. You're taking out all the times when you have done your job amazingly, all the accomplishments that you have, you'll take those out. When we apply mental filter to our parenting, we will only see the things that we've done, that the mistakes that we've made. We'll never see the days when attachment was secure and the home was happy and peaceful. We'll never see when we make good choices and we're emotionally available, and when we listen attentively, and when we were present. We'll never remember the times when we kissed knees and, we hug and dry tears. We'll never remember those. We'll remember the one mistake that we made, and mental filter will say, beat yourself up with this one mistake. If you go for the job interview, as I go back to that example, and if you've done the interview, your mental filter will not make you think about any of the questions that you answered correctly. It will tell you that you remember that one question you didn't do it correctly, and you weren't extensive in that one, and you could have been more, and you could have tell yourself more. That's how mental filter is. And of course, the knock-on effect of that will be, low self-esteem is a knock-on effect of having that negative thought pattern. And that's why it's so important for us to address it. So have you noticed mental filter in your life? How is it working in your life? Of course, we might have to wrestle with filters every day, but when we are dictating the filter, when we're acknowledging that it is there, when we're acknowledging that I know this mental filter exists in my life, and this is how I'm going to apply it. This is how I'm going to fill up the gaps of that filter, right? So Philippians 4 and verse 8 tells us that whatever is good and whatever is true and just, we should think on those things. Now, when we are using mental filter, we are not thinking on what is true, we're not thinking on what is right, and we are certainly not thinking of what is good. Because as I said earlier, we filter out all the good, and what's left, the impurities that are left, that's what we focus on. And therefore, we apply another, negative thought pattern. We tell ourselves, and then if this is what's left, then that must be true. This must be who I am. And it isn't. It's the impurities, and you mustn't focus on those. So if you've noticed mental filter in your life, that you're filtering out all the positives about yourself, you're filtering out all the good about yourself, you are not remembering what God says about you, you are not taking his word seriously. Is that true though? Is that right? And is that good? And use the word of God, use scriptures to shore up those places in your life. Dwell on those, reflect on who he says you are, put them in places where you'll see them every day, and apply that to your life. Tell yourself how he sees you. And one of the things sometimes we have to work on doing is adjust our vision of ourselves. We have to adjust our vision of ourselves, and we have to begin to see ourselves how God sees us. How does he see you? What does he say about you? And apply those tools to your life. So when we want to change negative thought patterns, we have to have something positive that is true to replace in it. And I know the place that we find the truth about us is in the Bible. Everything that he says about us, everything that he says about you is true. Doesn't matter what your brain is telling you. What your brain is telling you, what your brain have always told you isn't true. But what is true is in his word. Find it, read it, think about it, dwell on what is true, what is right, and what is good, and eliminate negative mental filters from your life.